All right. Hey, everyone. This is Jose from Rig Hut Truck Parking. Today, we want to talk about something that every yard owner and developer asks us. How do I design a truck parking lot layout that actually works? Truth is, your layout isn't just lines on a pavement. It could be the difference between a yard that's safe, profitable, and driver friendly, and one that's a constant headache. We can walk through this step by step. Okay. Why your truck parking lot layout will make or break your yard's profitability. A bad layout causes accidents, angry drivers and tenants, and wasted space, which is wasted dollars. We've seen yards that should fit 100 trucks only manage to put 70 in there because the design was just off from the start. We've also seen operators lose tenants because drivers couldn't safely back in due to stuffing in every open crevice that's available at the yard, whether it's an odd shape and they'll just put whatever they can down there that could bite you in the butt eventually. But the design is where everything starts and where many things can go wrong. Truck parking dimensions, the 12 by 75 rule, and why it's not always enough. Most engineers will tell you a truck space is 12 feet wide and 75 feet long. That is probably the standard. But the reality is that there are some truck and trailers that can go longer than that, bumper to bumper. A lot of these do. In South Florida, we see car haulers or sometimes just specialty loads. They won't fit neatly in that standard space. Also, 12 feet is probably too tight for a lot of these drivers, not because of the skills, but just because in general they want to be somewhere where they can go in and out without an issue. With no problem. They're driving all day, and the last thing that they want to do is squeeze into a place when they don't necessarily have to. If you don't plan for the longer units, your aisles could get blocked, and then your phone starts ringing with complaints, which is never fun, and we've seen that before. Layout options: 90 degrees versus angled parking. Which design really works for truck yards? This is the classic design question that we see and that we get asked. 90-degree layouts we see maximize space per acre. Angled layouts are easier for drivers to maneuver into. The right choice depends on the market. A drop yard with longer-term tenants might go 90 degrees. An overnight stop with constant turnover might lean towards the angled layouts. Constant daily drivers coming in and out nightly. Versus the longer term 30-day or so or monthly tenants or the long-term guys. What truckers really think. Unfiltered feedback on parking lot design. So we were searching a lot of forums to see what drivers actually do say, as well as speaking to guys who park on some of the yards that use us. A lot of drivers weighed in when we posted 3 different layout options, and some of the interesting feedback they mentioned was, of course, one, always go bigger. Not every truck is a short wheelbase fleet unit. So, like I said earlier, you never know what can come in or come out of there. If the specialty loads could throw a wrench in what you thought was perfectly designed. So you always want to play it safe. We always like to be more conservative. Over 12 feet for sure, at least is our mention. Angled parking. With angled parking, someone always goes too deep or too shallow. This obviously makes the blindside backing dangerous. No one likes to jackknife into something that they can't necessarily see perfectly, which to begin with is what that is. And then always go bigger, of course. The other thing is 12 by 75, similar to what we mentioned before, is fine. But then you start ending up with the longer cases, whether it's a car hauler that's full, and then you end up almost going to 80 feet long. And a lot of times drivers do have to wait, or they're just blocking the aisle, which is never fun. And again, the phone rings at all times of the day and night. The consensus that we've noticed is probably what you would guess. Drivers do want more room, side angles, and the layouts that avoid the blindside maneuvers. Regional and climate considerations. This is more for, you could talk about this down in South Florida, or you can talk about this in the areas such as in the central United States where it looks just like that, or the Northeast. There are more professionals out there who will tell you what goes on, with the climate should decide the surface that you're going to use for your truck lot. In the Midwest, for example, freestall cycles could destroy the asphalt. If you don't design for it, if you don't put it into your budget, it could kill your bottom line. In the South, heat does wear and tear the asphalt. Concrete might be worth the upfront cost, and we always like to say it depends on what the competitive landscape is. While millings or gravel could make sense for testing demand if you want to just start testing the market. Don't design the same way across the country. Obviously, somewhere in a yard in Chicago is going to take a different hit than a yard in Dallas or Miami. Climate does matter. Cost factors, the real cost of paving, asphalt versus concrete versus milling for truck parking lots. Asphalt is cheaper upfront, but does need ongoing seal coating. Concrete lasts decades, but costs more to install. Millings and gravel are fine for the overflow, but not longer term. The key is to align the surface choice with your hold period. So if you're going to own a site for a long time, you might as well choose the surface appropriately. If you're going to test the market, or if you have like a few acres behind your warehouse and you just want to start putting the guys in, that also doesn't hurt to just go the cheapest option, which is millings. Actually, I should say, I said in the beginning, asphalt as the cheapest. Millings and gravel is obviously the cheapest option, and it's also the fastest to get out to market. So the tenant mix, who's parking in your yard, and how tenant mix shapes truck parking lot layout. Not every yard is going to serve the same type of customer. The easiest way to visualize one case is you could compare yards. Drivers, as you can imagine, like in a lot of real estate operations, the management is much more intensive. A lot of more in and outs. That means a lot more damage to the gate, a lot more damage to the surface, a lot more damage to everything. The monthly guys, depending on how infill you are in some markets, you can probably have a longer term relationship with the guys who are parking there. They're going to treat their yard like it's their own. Very similar to anything else that you rent versus buy. Well, in this case, buying is just a longer term stay, but the monthly parkers, or the guys who are growing with you, and the ones who are going to get, they're going to ask for 1 space and 5 spaces and 10 spaces. Those are the ones who are going to actually take care of your yard. Overnight is, while very, very beneficial, and there's a huge use case for it, you do have to be aware that the management intensity is higher, and you're going to need much more oversight, whether it's cameras, whether it's well lit certain areas, whether it's someone on site. That is up to your budget. Drop trailers and storage, that's also another use case of the type of tenants who can come in. If depending on the location that you're at, maybe you're near a railway or a port like facility, drop trailers need usually reinforced type surfaces, wider aisles. Just remember, if you design for everyone, then you design for no one. Know your tenant mix, know where you are in your market. Future-proofing your yard, we feel like we have to mention this because we are seeing it in real time. The best yards are planning for what's to come. We have yards that are in the West Coast that are already taking in autonomous loads, or autonomous trucks that are coming and needing storage. Or EV charging infrastructure, something that everyone always talks about. Smart gate access control is almost becoming a must. Camera integration is also a need. And then just flexible layouts is also something that's very interesting. It allows you to be creative with standard or oversized rigs. And also, if maybe there's a holiday coming in and you want to take in different types of tenants, whether it's containers or whether it's converting your yard more to a drop yard versus something else, or maybe there's a hurricane or a large storm and you want to be you want to situate your yard in a way that could take on some emergency handling, then also this could be very interesting. Future proofing isn't that expensive if you think ahead during design, and it's just something that you should be well aware of. So layout and maintenance, why paving fails without the right plan. Layout and maintenance do go hand in hand. Even the best design falls apart without the maintenance. That means this is not something that you just one and done, develop and never think again. This is ongoing, proper preparation and caution with what's going on at the yard. Compaction and drainage up front, proper base depth and compaction. Foundation determines everything. Depending also where you are, inadequate base could lead to a major failure. We've seen that firsthand. Drainage planning, to prevent the pooling to avoid further surface breakdown and driver frustration. If you are seeing a lot of, whether it be major puddles in rainy areas, and that combine that with milling gravel and then the constant turning of these 18-wheelers, you are going to start seeing issues, and you're going to start getting calls because, again, you want to provide a yard that is not only safe but also well maintained and cleaned, and you want to have guys parking with you for years to come. Scheduled maintenance. So yes, this is just a standard seal coating, resurfacing, crack repair, patching. Make sure to budget proactively with this and just understand cycles of the year, or just the general year and the cycles in how these yards perform. And your design and then how you maintain it work together. You create a facility that's safer, more profitable, and then attracts tenants for the longer term. The bottom line, your truck parking lot layout can be the hidden driver of your return on. Designing a lot layout isn't just about fitting the maximum spaces in the yard. It's actually about creating a site where drivers can safely and efficiently park, whether it be overnight, weekly, or also about providing a place or an environment where they could tell their community of drivers or other guys in the business that this is a good place to park and store, whether it be overnight, weekly, or monthly. By listening to drivers, by asking them, by being present, by showing that you are around and that you care for this yard, you will reap many of the benefits. And we've seen it many times over again. Doesn't matter what market, but the more proactive you are with the guys who are parking at your yard today, the more they'll give you back. So a lot to be said there in little time. Just to close, Rig Hut, we've been both sides on this equation here. We used to run truck yards ourselves. Now we provide the technology, marketing, and access control systems that help owners get it right. If you want help with your truck parking lot layout, you need to just see what your yard can earn, you can reach out to us. Also, we have a very cool case study that we did on a yard in South Florida. We added about $30,000 in additional rental income to this yard. And if you want to know how, reach out. Thank you.